A lot of ayahuasca circles these days, including some of the biggest retreats out there, have a very dangerous motto when it comes to how much medicine to drink. Perhaps you've heard of it. Don't think, drink is a motto that a lot of places push because they feel that there's this whole kind of energy of trusting the medicine behind it. What they mean by that is like, well, don't think about whether or not you should drink more medicine, just do it. Just show up at the altar and push, push, push. And again, there's some logic behind this, right? Like part of what the medicine does is help us circumvent the trappings of our egos. And the idea of like, just trust the process, trust the medicine, trust the shaman, etc., is a very convincing narrative, in part because a lot of us give our power away and don't trust ourselves. We're very used to that, especially in healing spaces. We're asked to do that with our doctors and our therapists of like, just trust them, take the pill, do this, do that. I kind of have an issue with this as a whole, especially in ayahuasca circles, fundamentally, because ayahuasca, one of her core teachings is about how we learn to trust ourselves and how we learn to decipher between our egos and our souls, our feelingness versus our thoughts. But the answer is not always drinking more medicine when you're in a ceremony. And this is a really big teaching. There's so many reasons why I have a problem with the don't think, drink motto. Number one, it's perpetuated by people that often have not so great agendas about getting us vulnerable. I'll give you an example. When I worked at a retreat center that had this motto, a lot of the immature facilitators there at the time loved to just pour tons and tons of medicine, have a huge chaotic ceremony, and then look like the heroes that come in and do their thing and bring people to the other side. And you don't get to have that when there's subtlety in the space. So there's an example. There's a lot of nefarious egoic reasons why facilitators like their ceremonies to be chaotic and intense, which requires a lot of medicine typically, because then they look like they're, up on their thrones doing a big job. And that's not necessary. It doesn't have to work that way. The other reason why I don't like the don't think, drink philosophy is also disrespectful to the medicine. Every cup of medicine is sacred. There's not an infinite supply of her. So a lot of times, like when I worked at this retreat, when we would, push medicine, people would purge it immediately because they had no business drinking more medicine. And yeah, I can argue there's some sacredness in the lesson there, but come on, let's treat every cup of medicine as sacred, which means that we want to be thoughtful and discerning around when it feels appropriate to drink more medicine, which is fundamentally the core of what she teaches, is sovereignty, is trusting ourselves. And don't think, drink gives that trust to somebody other than ourselves. When I worked at this retreat, they even had this whole spiel they wanted us, the employees, to tell people when they would say, I'm good, I don't need to drink in ceremony tonight, or I'm only going to drink 1 cup. We were told to perpetuate this pushing, like, trust her, drink more medicine, which is the antithesis of what she teaches, trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself. And if let's say we take the 2nd, 3rd, 4th cup, when we know down deep it doesn't feel like our highest good, Aya's going to teach us that lesson because she loves us so much that, hey, you knew better, and here's what's going to happen. It's going to be a tough journey as a result. Because we all know when we go against our instincts, man, we learn the hard way, and we don't have to do that every time. The last reason, I'm glad this resonates for some of you, the last reason I want to emphasize why it's important to not just don't think, drink, is there's beauty in the subtlety. There's such profound experiences waiting for us if we lean into a subtle shift in our consciousness and allow that to be healing and magical and masterful. We don't always have to get knocked upside the head by 3 cups of medicine in order to have something really incredible happen. Now, somebody's sharing they were pushed to drink 10 cups and blacked out for the whole ceremony. Honey, I'm sorry that happened. Like, what a tough rite of passage. It should never have to look that way, that we have to learn by going through something incredibly traumatic. But I went through that, by the way. I listened to someone who pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed me, did not honor the fact that I'm sensitive to medicine, more so than some, not all. But, that's another reason why it's important to trust ourselves, is our individual sensitivity, both to the medicines themselves and also how we're feeling at any space and time, should all be factored in to whether or not we stand up and get more medicine, more medicine, more medicine, because this is not a game of quantity, it's quality, right? And if we don't honor our sensitivities, why on earth do we become aware of them if we're just going to abuse them? This is another major teaching from Aya. So how do we know if it's appropriate in our highest good, however you want to express that, to drink more medicine? I have a trick that I developed over the years because I understand the idea that we don't want our minds to dictate the experience that we have in ceremony. Because if I listen to my mind, I would usually not drink at all. And she doesn't get to be the boss. Okay, so how do we know? We want to get to something deeper, right? And I put my hand on my belly because that's one of the ways that I lean into what is the truth of what my body wants, my soul wants, not my mind. But my trick is, if they're calling for another cup of medicine and you're not sure if it feels right or not, get up and vector towards the bathroom. And if on your way to the bathroom you feel this pull to the altar, perhaps that's where you belong. And if you're sitting with people that you trust, that are coming from a really good, pure space, you can always just go up to the altar and ask them, hey, I'm not sure. Because we, as facilitators, we should be trained to feel into the depth of how altered you are. And sometimes we can sing, move the energy in different ways. It's not just about the medicine, in order for the individual to feel more deeply connected to the medicine they have in their system. Sometimes we know you're actually super altered, you're just not aware of it yet. Or sometimes we know just a little splishy splash would be perfect to kind of complement the journey. But you can always ask, as long as you're with people that honor sensitivity, that know it's not about just more and more medicine. Because then you get a second opinion if you don't yet know how, and it's just an opinion, by the way, for you to sit with so that you can trust yourself. But sometimes it's confusing. It's like, shouldn't I drink more medicine? So try these different things. But for me, when in doubt, work with what you got. Don't push it. Don't be chasing something that inevitably can bring out trauma because we're not trusting that we're right where we need to be. So this is a nuance that all of us that sit regularly with any of the plant medicines and psychedelics that we're always learning. But my mission today was to insist that you never follow the don't think, drink motto, and that each of us trusts the connections that we're making to ourselves to know what is right for us at any given time. And that is the most powerful place of reference that I know of. And it's fully supported by ayahuasca. Our sovereignty is knowing what feels right for us. Thank you for listening. As always, such an honor to connect with all of you. Next week, I'm going to talk about guru worship in ceremonies. It's happening a lot that the ceremonies are more about the person leading and less about the medicine. And I think that's super dangerous. So we're going to talk more about that next week. In the meantime, have a glorious week, everybody. Drop your comments. I'd love to know what you think about all of this. Much love. Be safe out there.